Hey there, welcome to Eve News, Weather and Sports. I'm Mike Azariah. Today is March the 16th, 2026, and let's get into it. A little personal stuff to start off. Tomorrow is my wedding anniversary. Well, our wedding anniversary, myself and my wife. We have been married since 2090, or sorry, 1990. 2190 will be our 200th anniversary, and we keep score of that sort of thing, just seeing if we can live that long. But the reason I bring it up is obviously are a couple that are in for the long run, and we have been stubborn and stuck to it all the way through. And I mention that because it connects to stuff about Eve, the Eddic saga. Now, in Iceland, they are very, very proud of this series of poems and stories that come down from like the 12th and 13th century and are still read in schools today and are still readable because Icelandic language has not drifted the way most other languages have. It's kind of interesting. And so at FanFest a year ago or 2 years ago, I lose track, they announced that they were going to make an Eve Eddic saga, a story of Eve written in and on authentic ancient technology, right down to them even adding blood into the ink, which is something they're going to be collecting at FanFest. No, they're not going to be draining a pint each, more like a blood prick, just to put a touch of the people's DNA into it. God help us if aliens come and clone a saga. Anyways, the idea is they want to make something for the future, a long term saga. And it's neat in a way, but I'm curious about how it's going to be written. Who's going to be mentioned? Who's going to be skipped over? What organizations are actually part of the player agency of Eve Online? Because player agency is a big thing. We've done a lot in this game. I mean, the lore is there and there's a background to it, but we have done a lot. But will they eliminate famous people from the game because they became infamous later on? Some of you who are vets probably can guess who I'm talking about. Will the people who've got monuments to their names get more than a stanza? Katia Say, Kariba, they deserve it. They are highlights, but there's also people who've been infamous for other ways. The Judge, uh, the Guiding Hand Social Club, organizations like this. Eve is a big, complex game. There's a lot of history to it, and a lot of the history only some of you know because you were a part of it, and it's your little history. It's kind of like when the US writes the history books and they totally ignore what all the other countries did and claim that they fought World War II and won it. Anyways, the idea of this being written is really cool. I'm looking forward to it. If you're curious about what the Eddic saga looks like, you can actually find it on Project Gutenberg, among other places, and take a look at it. The funny thing is, if you read it, even a bit of it, you'll start to go, hey, I know those names. And you will know it from two different geek sources. You will recognize some of them as names of ships inside the game, but other ones, Killian Philly, a whole bunch of dwarven names come straight out of the Eddic sagas. Tolkien didn't make stuff out of whole cloth, he borrowed. And so you'll find a whole bunch of recognizable names that transferred into out of the Eddic sagas into Lord of the Rings. It's kind of neat. I'm looking forward to seeing how it goes. But again, I'm wondering who will be in it, how they will decide who is in it, and what large events will make it in it. Things like the fall of Steve. And for those of you who don't know what that is, I recommend you go look it up. Second, they have announced that there are changes coming to faction warfare, a few big ones, and answering a lot of pain points that people have with faction warfare. Standing changes, the fact that occasionally people get really ticked off about they join faction warfare and all of a sudden they can't fly in half of the space in high sec because they're wanted criminals from bleed down. Also, the problem with AWOXers, which I'll come back to the term in a second, but friendly fire not having enough of a penalty or having too much of a penalty. And last was seagulling, which they're not fixing right now, but they're keeping an eye on. Now, these have a lot of terms that if you don't play Eve a lot, you may be going, what the hell is AWOXing? What the hell is seagulling? What are standings? Who are you, anyways? Uh, AWOXing is funny because it's the act of joining an organization and then attacking the people in your own organization, turning on them, trying to rack up kills or steal. The funny thing is, it's named after a specific player. So the player's name has become a verb. So there was a guy named AWOX. Will he be in the Eddic Saga? Will he be in it as a famous person for all the right reasons or all the wrong reasons? I don't even know if he still plays. The standing changes that come from AWOXing should be severe, some people think, but it's going to be interesting to see if this increases the uptake of people going into and staying in faction warfare. On to the movement, the traffic and weather. Uh, the oh man, GunFam has gone up 427 players in the past week, and that's double. Minmatar Fleet Association went up 351. Initiative dropped 325. Now that looks like the same size drop as the other two gains, and numerically it is. Percentage wise, not. Because, like I said, GunFam went up 427 up into around 8 to 900 level. Initiative losing 325 players, that's less than 1% of their membership. So sometimes I look at the numbers as the raw numbers. Other time I look at the changes in terms of percentage. Are they shutting down, or is it just housekeeping and a few dust bunnies getting swept under the rug? In violence, in nullsec, it was NJ4X TAC 5, 161 ships and 165 pods, which I find really weird that they managed to kill more pods than they did ships. Were people passing through and just getting jumped? In Losec, it was once again Amamaki, 861 ships, 115 pods. And in HiSec, it was once again Jita, 365 over 239. For NPC space, the big kills were happening in 3 OTAC Delta Sierra Gulf with 54,036 ships blown up of NPCs, and that's in Tino, being held currently by Fraternity. So, have you done enough to be in the sagas? Would you want to be in the sagas, or to have done enough in a video game that you are known and become chosen to be in the sagas? Personally, I hope I've left enough of a touch that at least something gets a mention, even if it's just the bus. But for the rest of you, may you be famous in your own time, or leastwise a legend in your own mind. Skull. Ciao, Bella.